fresh-cut pines scented the air. "Hey, Erin. Good morning, Fresca," merchants and volunteers called as we passed by. Nearly everyone calls Francesca Conti Murphy-Schmidt Fresca, although I sometimes mess up and call her mom at work. At 62, 6 months remarried after a long widowhood, she rocks a Santa hat. In the next block, Walt and Taya Thornton stood outside Jewel Bay Antiques and Christmas Shop, studying their window. A big tub of lights stood on the sidewalk next to a pile of garland. I set my tub down next to theirs, happy to be rid of the weight. Actually, I set their tub down next to ours. They hadn't yet noticed Murphy's Mercantile written on the lid. "Oh, Taya," my mother said, taking the elfin woman's arm. "It's perfect." She was right. Inside the Thorntons' big front window stood an antique Father Christmas, nearly 5 feet tall. He wore a flowing maroon velvet robe and a fur cap so luxurious it could have been mink, trimmed with a sprig of fresh holly. Around him were gathered miniature creatures of the woodland, from a mischievous red fox and a white ermine to a pair of majestic reindeer, each so realistic I half expected them to glance up at me. Last year, my first Christmas back home in Jewel Bay, the Village Merchants Association had debated starting a window decorating contest. But in the end, we'd happily agreed that the Thorntons would always win, so why bother? And this display proved us right. Tracy, my shop assistant and design expert, I've dubbed her creative director, would make sure the Merc's double windows brimmed with good cheer. They would be bright and fun and make shoppers smile. But this was the display everyone would remember. "Isn't the village the most beautiful?" Our local French chef appeared on the sidewalk, bearing a tray of pastries. "So is that," I said, my mouth watering at the sight of a fruit-topped lemon cream tart. I am on close personal terms with all the pastries from Le Panier, my closest village neighbor. The chef's wife, Baker Wendy Taylor Fontaine, approached, the new baby in her arms sporting a tiny knitted elf hat and a green sleeper trimmed in red fleece. "Oh, that outfit is adorable." "A gift from Sally Grimes," Wendy replied. Even Sally Sourpuss, owner of the children's shop across the street, could be sweet when it came to babies. "Ah, le bébé, elle est si belle quand elle dort," her husband said. Ever since the little one's arrival a few weeks ago, his excitement at fatherhood had increased his occasional lapses into French. But the beauty of a sleeping baby, I understood. A shout behind me drew my attention from the pastry tray. "Go away," Taya Thornton yelled. "You've shamed us enough." My mouth dropped open. I hardly recognized the woman who'd been my beloved kindergarten teacher, her skin now flushed, her lips twisted. Behind her, and a half a head taller, her husband Walt looked confused, his kind eyes uncertain whether to focus on his wife or the fair-skinned blonde in the cherry-red ski jacket and Santa hat who stood a few feet away. Merrily Thornton, their daughter, a few years older than I. "I came to help you decorate." "We don't want your help," Taya snapped. "Taya!" My mother reached out, but the other woman shook her off. "Surely we can work this out." Walt's voice was thin and strained. He took off his Santa hat and ran a hand over his nearly bald head. "It's Christmas." "We gave you everything, and how did you repay us?" Taya shouted. "Why couldn't you be more like your sister?" I felt as if I'd been slapped, and the words weren't even directed at me. Merrily's shoulders sank, and her round cheeks fell, her eyes small behind her tortoiseshell glasses. Fresca slipped an arm around Taya's narrow shoulders and turned her toward the door of the antique shop. My mother is slender and unfailingly gracious, but she can be quite forceful. Walt took a step toward his daughter, hand outstretched, palm down. "It's best, for now, if you stay away." He dropped his hand and shuffled after his wife. Only then did I notice the villagers who'd stopped their decorating to watch, silent and horrified. Across the street and half a block down, Sally stood, coatless.